Hey guys, thanks for joining me for another Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia video, and here we go. I decided I am going to jump in and do these Dare to Defy fights, so I will record each one as a separate video. So this is Dare to Defy Astraeus 1, I guess that's how you'd pronounce that. And when I was looking at the fight was calling for fire magic damage. Now, I'm pretty sure this was Neon's fight, but I'm like, alright, I've got a guy named Rubicante who is fire magic damage. If we throw him out there by himself, I think he's going to do pretty well. So here we go. We're going to start off with a solo fight to kick off Dare to Defy, and I think using solo runs when you can in Dare to Defy is a good strategy because it's going to save you characters to use on other fights. Not that I need it. I think on my roster is going to be plenty good enough to do 3 characters in every fight. But sure, let's go ahead. I mean, I haven't looked ahead to the other fights. I'm just doing them one at a time. So that's what we're going to do. We're just going to hop in and do that. Now, while I'm doing this, I don't really need to commentate much over what you're seeing here, right? It's like, so we're doing typical Rubicante stuff where we're going to go into his burst phase early here. And the whole goal of going into his burst phase is to let him ramp as much as he can with his absorb Blizzara thing, because that's his force charging move, right? And I did force 50 my Rubicante because now any character with end of service can be made force 50. So we made Rubicante force 50 to help him charge a little bit better, give him a little bit more effectiveness, as that gauge gets higher. So what we strategically did here was we had used the LD before going into burst time, because when you use the LD, you get a free skill use of either the 15 or 35. That way we go into burst phase, we use the 35 right away to force charge, then we can hit the LD again during the burst phase, do another 35 to force charge, and then you still have the normal skill use. So we got 3 force charges off during this burst phase. So you can see we're going to come out of this in a really good spot, and the enemies aren't even going to get to their burst phase. So the only thing I wasn't sure about is, even with Rubicante by himself, was the fight going to be aggressive enough? Was one force time going to be enough? So what ends up happening here is we played a little bit safe at first, but then as I get deeper into the force, because I obviously have to use this force to start it, but I actually held off on echoing for a little bit, just because I wasn't sure if I was going to need another force time, right? So then what happens is we get deeper into it. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm going to clear this. So then I did end up echoing later on. So that's what you're going to see here. But once again, nothing too crazy exciting. Like, you guys have seen solo runs before. I mean, Rubicante just does his thing. And the thing is the weekly crystal quests now, I should talk a little bit about that too. The weekly crystal quests right now are giving you 9,000 points, which is half of what you need to max a color. So if you have a color at 0, like you haven't touched it yet, if you do the same color crystal quest 2 weeks in a row, you will have it fully done. So I am going to actually make it a point to get those done. I did get a run in for white this week. Unfortunately, my white is just short because I had a lot of mine at 72 out of 90. So being at 72 out of 90 means I had all of the stats, but I didn't have any of the actual skills because the skills cost 600 a piece. They're kind of expensive. But I did have a couple colors like blue. Blue I had 75 out of 90 because before the game announced end of service, my goal was I was going around to each color and doing enough to get them 3 skills so that a character could have a full set of skills from that, right? So if you have anything 75 out of 90, then you're essentially halfway done point-wise, and then one run will get you the rest of the way. So unfortunately, I'm going to have to run with white, unless I can get some maybe rainbow sparkles to finish off white, but it's kind of annoying because I'm only 3 nodes away from finishing white. But what I'll do next week is I'll do a run with blue, because my blue's at 75, and then my blue should be completely done. And then I'll actually start to earn the crystal attacks, right? Which right now I still only have the first one. So we can maybe do a video maybe at the end where I can showcase all of that. The other thing I've been doing is they did a thing where everyone had premium log pass. They gave you a bunch of stuff. And so I just turned on my game one day this weekend and I had 90 skip tickets. So I'm like, all right, well, I guess now I'm going to start skipping, and I'm going to try to blue every armor in the game if I can. I know that I can do it. It's just a matter of if I'm going to have enough time to do it. So, and I did work on, I've greened every BT that I have at this point. And I think I'm 10 BT tokens away from getting another one. So I just have to do enough of the daily multis to get up to 80 G tokens again. And then I'm going to buy another BT and we're going to crank away. And kind of what I want to do at the end You know, sometime in February, maybe it'll be the very last day. I'm planning to stream, you know, the day the game ends, or maybe the day before, as like a final, like, you know, saying goodbye to the game. But I would like to do like a final, like, account showcase and showcase my account, and hopefully, I don't know that I'm going to be able. Well, here's the thing. I don't know what they're going to do for the 6th anniversary. They might be very generous and allow us to get a lot of BTs through that. So depending on how generous they are for like the 6th anniversary stuff, obviously I would love to be able to show an account with every single character maxed out. That would be my ultimate goal. But I'm going to get as close to it as I can, right? So we'll see, we'll see, we'll see. So with that being said, my plan here moving forward is I do want to get a recording of me beating all of these Dare to Defies. Now, something I do want to tell you guys about is I am going on, you know, I have Christmas break coming up for school. And during Christmas break, kind of on the tail end of it, I am going to be going to Mexico with my wife on a vacation, which I think is much needed. It's been kind of a stressful year, especially at work for me. So I think that'll be good. So my plan is during my Christmas break week, before we go to Mexico, I'm going to try to just pre-record a bunch of videos, including a bunch of these Dare to Defy. So I'm not sure what order they're going to go out. I don't know if they're going to be every day. They might be every other day. But I'm going to pre-record between DOKKAN, DFFOO, and Star Rail. I'm just going to pre-schedule out a bunch of videos so that hopefully there'll at least be something every day, even while I'm in Mexico. So just know that I will be in Mexico over New Year's, and that is like January 1st is when the next set of Dare Defies comes out. So just know that on my channel, you're not going to see those new fights right away. But I think that's something I'll start working on when I get back from Mexico. And then I can start pre-recording those out. Or another thought that I'm thinking is I might intentionally not do them and then wait and save that for like my last stream where I do all the new Dare Defies during my last stream. We'll see. I might do them actually beforehand just because, you know, whatever rewards are tied to it might help me get more BTs maxed out. So, you know, the last stream could just be a chill stream where we're hanging out, playing the game, talking about our memories of the game, right? Maybe I do some damage tests or something with the cactuars. I think there's a lot of fun things we could do. So just look forward to that, and just know that if anything, for any of the games on my channel you watch, whether it be DOKKAN or Star Rail or this, that anything that comes out basically from December 29th to January 5th, I won't be able to cover that on the spot because I'm going to be in Mexico, unless I do like a really bad recording directly on my phone, which if something cool enough drops, I might do that. We'll see. We'll see. So yeah. But yeah, here we go. Rubicante's kind of doing his thing here. We're at about 600 something percent, but we're still on like turn 8. So you can see we're doing pretty good. Now the enemies still have a decent chunk of health. So at this time, I'm still not like 100% sure I'm going to get it done in one. But you can look, I mean, they're getting like 1,000,000 turns to Rubicante's one. So I'm like, Rubicante, as we build up the gauge, like the damage is going to start coming through pretty heavy here. And Rubicante, I mean, he's a character that hasn't had an upgrade since he came out pretty much, but he's still that good being a counter tank. It's just, you know, we do see better damage out of certain characters, but I mean, you know, he's doing like, yeah, what we're doing like 2 mil and then a 4 mil. I mean, his BT counter is quite strong. And once we get up to full like 999, I mean, you combine all of it up, I think we're going to be doing like 7 mil counter, something in that range, which is pretty good. 7 to 10 mil, I would say something in that range. We'll see as we get closer here. And you can see their HP attacks aren't actually doing that much damage to us. So, I think, because a lot of you, I think, criticized me a little bit on some of these tier lists for not maybe mentioning Rubicante more or like ranking him harder or higher. And I think part of the reason was like some of the times I was using him, I would actually get killed with him. He didn't seem as safe as some of the other tanks. You know, he heals in very small chunks from the sphere. And so he just didn't seem as safe as some of the other tanks. But using Rubicante here with crystal rooms, because I hadn't really used Rubicante much with crystal rooms. I mean, the crystal room buffs are actually like really impactful for Rubicante, because if you look here, Rubicante's got 45,000 HP, and because of the crystal room passives, you see he like barely takes damage. So we're defensive enough with him that he does feel incredibly safe, at least in this fight, right? So I think Rubicante is just one of those characters that really heavily benefited from crystal rooms for sure. To really, really help out his damage and to help out his tankiness. So right here, I was paying attention because Rubicante's BT effect did wear out. So we just went ahead and refreshed it there. So now we got another full 8 turns. We're pretty much at max gauge. And this is pretty much game over. And then them delaying Rubicante is fantastic right there. So we're going to counter up. So there we go. We got a 4 mil. Followed up by, what is this going to be, like 6? Oh, 8. Okay. So 8.5 plus 4. So that's like 12.5 mil AoE. So 12.5 mil AoE on counters is actually pretty good. It adds up over time, right? Now, we know that the top-end damage dealers are doing like 100 mil shots, but like, you know, for a counter tank like this, I mean, this is adding up. Because, you know, this is like, you know, enemies are taking like 4 attacks here. So we can take that 12 mil AoE times that by 4. That's basically like nearly 50 million per character. So, you know, per turn here, if the enemies are getting 4 turns in between, Rubicante is kind of getting like 100 million damage in. So, pretty good for a character like this to age well. And, you know, back when we were talking about the game a little bit more seriously, when we're excited for new content, we didn't see this end of service coming. It's the kind of thing where I'd be preaching to you guys, hey, in the future, when you're summoning, you know, characters with longevity, like tanks, like supports, like they're really good characters to invest in. Because think of how long it's been since Rubicante actually had his last upgrade. He's lasted a long time, and that we can take him in the newest content, still solo fights, save our roster for Dare to Defy. Just a great character to have in your roster, right? For sure. So yeah, so I kind of wanted to do this too for like all the Rubicante lovers out there. I can just sit here and praise Rubicante for an entire fight and show you that I do understand how good he is. I do get it. He's very good. It got to the point in the game where I think there was just so many characters like Rubicante, like so many tanks either on his level, if not better, right? Because you're talking about Cater, Kelger, Oron. I mean, we were about to get Gladio. We didn't quite get a chance to get him. But just so many characters on his level that, you know, he just kind of fell off a bit just because other characters can now do what he does. And some of them, you know, a few of them even a lot better. So, but there are, you know, the place where a character like Rubicante will trump a Cater Kelger is enemies that use a lot of non-dodgeable attacks. Now, they didn't really do a lot, I feel like, the fight against Cater and Kelger. They didn't really do a lot of enemies that couldn't be dodged or evaded. They really didn't have that. A lot of enemies did have an attack here or there that couldn't be, but it doesn't really shut them down if it's only one attack once in a while. So I kind of thought with how dominant they were that they would try to shut them out more, but they didn't really do that. You know, Cater can get shut out for, you know, if they lock out ice, but Kelger is non-elemental, so Kelger is a lot harder to shut out. You pretty much have to shut out dodge to shut him out of a fight. All right, so here we go. I'm like, yep, let's just echo it out. We've got 5 turns left. They are near melting point. Yeah, they're only at 16%. So at this point, I'm like, yeah, this fight's pretty much like over. Pretty much over here. So yeah, this was just a really nice, clean solo run. And I was talking to my brother over the weekend. He's run them all already, so he knows a little bit more about the fights than I do. But he said that he used Rubicante on fight number 2. So I'll have to look at fight number 2, but odds are that could be another solo run. I might just take another character that can solo and try to do that and see if I can be as efficient as possible here on these fights. Now, I'm someone that I would prefer to use 3 characters than 1, but honestly, for tanks like Rubicante, like solo fights are actually better for them. Like, it's more efficient. So I'm not like running this necessarily to be efficient for my box, but because Rubicante will just do better. Like, other characters just get in his way. Same with Kelger Cater. Like, they actually, in the right fight, as long as they're not negated, they will do better on their own because your teammates just get in their way, basically. The only teammate that's great for these characters really is Reno. Because Reno, so like if you want to run a 3-person team with the counter setup, then you run Reno, so you can kind of hold everybody back and delay. The other thing too on this fight I will mention, I'm pretty sure I didn't even put on the defense crystal passives that like delay him. So I could have even made this even more efficient. Although Rubicante's green, I don't know that I've actually purchased those for his color yet. So maybe I didn't make a mistake, right? So I'll have to keep that in mind though on the next fight if I do a defense character to put those on. So anyways, guys, there you go. Rubicante, very easy. Like, we were never in danger. 12 turns. Completely dominated. So let me know how you guys did on the first Dare to Defy fight. Thanks for watching. We'll catch y'all on the next one.